Okay, so say you're in the United States and you're thinking, as I get into retirement,
I'm going to be in the mall walking around. Now, my father was an avid mall walker, so I don't have anything against mall walkers.
but I've got someone with me today, Stephen, who, when he was reaching retirement age, walked the mall a couple of times and realized how that was definitely not for him. We're going to be talking today, getting the story of how he ended up here in Todos Santos with his feet not on the tiles of the mall, but into the soil of Mexico. Let's go ahead and meet Stephen and hear his story of how he ended up here, and also his future thoughts of what life will be like as he's looking forward.
I'm basically born in Washington, but lived my entire life in Oregon. My home before I left for Mexico was in Coos Bay, Oregon. And I'm taking you back to now 72 years of age, and I have just married my new wife that I had found, and she was a single woman also as a widow. It was December, and it was raining terribly hard at Coos Bay, and I call it raining sideways because it really seems like it's sideways. And we were sitting in the house, it was totally gray out, and we realized for the next 3 to 5 months, it was going to be gray every day. You'd be lucky if you had one day open to even get out of the house. It was always going to be rain and rain. And so for exercise, which I believed in exercise, you had a choice to either go pay for a gym membership, which had some good qualities and some very bad, or like all of the other geriatric people, you went to the mall and you got into the line and you walked that quarter mile or half mile up and you followed the same group back to the other side. And if you were strong enough, you made another trip or another round on this thing. I wasn't very happy with that program. It just felt like each pass kind of was leading me towards the end of my life. And so we agreed to have a honeymoon, and we took it in a warmer climate where we could have both enjoy that time. We went to Cabo San Lucas, which is a major tourist town in lower Baja. And so we flew into Cabo San Lucas. Actually, you fly into San Jose, which is about 15 miles to the east of Cabo San Lucas. And we had a ride back to the motel we stayed in. And the motel was very reasonable. It was, believe it or not, it was $35 a night. And it was very comfortable, very clean, almost no noise. The parking area had gates. They had security that watched everything that was going on. So everything you had was safe. And every day I went out for a walk, and they have the most beautiful marina in the world. And it's a wonderful place to walk. They have a Medano beach, which is wonderful to swim in. And then there was a public beach, which none of this costs money to go into. And every day I was walking and getting in sunshine, and I felt wonderful. This went on for a month. And about midway in that month, I said to my wife, I said, if I only have 3 years to live, I said, where I would like to be is where I can get out in the sunshine every day for that 3 years and live the life, a complete life. Sitting in my chair, hunkered down in a rain-soaked area where you can't do that same thing wasn't very appealing. But getting out every day and living the fullness of my life.
Let me break in from my wall walk here in Portland and give you a bit of a spoiler. Stephen is living the fullness of his life every day, and we're going to share exactly what that looks like. But if you are struggling with finding the fullness in your life or any other type of struggle, having an unbiased person to talk to can be invaluable. And the sponsor of today's video can provide you with an online therapist who can work with you almost anywhere in the world by phone, message, or video chat. If you want to give it a try, you'll get 10% off your first month if you use my link, betterhelp.com/almost retired. The platform is really easy to use, from getting matched with a therapist to scheduling and having sessions, and even for switching therapist if the first one isn't a great match for you. If you think you might benefit from therapy, try BetterHelp. Over 4 million people have already used BetterHelp to start living a healthier, happier life. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/almost retired. Clicking that link helps support this channel, and it gives you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. But let's get back to Steven's month-long honeymoon in Cabo San Lucas, because he's about to turn his Cabo honeymoon into a full-time life in Mexico.
I went to a realtor and said, can we find something? I didn't trust a third world, so I said, I've got to have things just right if we buy. We used a realtor. I insisted that we use title insurance. We've had no problem with the purchase of this place. It has worked perfectly.
If you watched this channel before, you know that Kat and I spend half the year in Portland, Oregon, so we get that same sideways driving brain. I know exactly what he's talking about. But what I didn't understand what he's talking about is why he said he's got 3 years left to live when he was 72 and they had just gotten married. So let's go, before we talk about the house and where they are now, let's look back at his looking forward from the age of 72.
I'm projecting in my mind, I'm 72, I just married, and I had to look at what genetics had for me in the future, and that is my dad died at 75, my brother at 76. My dad's brothers all died before they were 77. So I figured that, and my grandfather made it to 76. The women in my life made it to 95 to 100, but the men did not. So what I projected is I probably had 3 years to live. And I wanted it to be the most complete 3 years that I could have. And so this filled the pattern. I bought the home here. I had the sunshine. There's, other than one hurricane, which was so minor that came to us, that I've never had a day I couldn't go out. I've been in my gardens every day, tinkering and planting. I go swimming at Punta Lobos, which is only a couple miles away. It's like a swim pool. And from July on, the water is like kind of like a bathtub. It's 86. It's so nice and warm. And I put my snorkel and goggles on, and it's like Cousteau. Back years ago, there was a program of him, and he went up into the Cortez area, and he loved to go down and look at the fish and the coral and the things swimming. And it's like being in an aquarium, and you're in it. And I love doing that. And I would swim for an hour and a half and come back home. Sometimes I would even catch a fish, and we could cook it right here. I was fortunate that the place that I bought had 3 homes. And on one of the homes, we hired a full-time Mexican family, and we were able to hire them free rent, so that we're not charging them rent, $400 a month. And that $400 a month, they helped clean our home. She cooked for us our meals. Her husband helped me in the landscape work on our property. And we had just a wonderful time here. And with the advent of this video today, I'm 78 years of age. I've outlived all the men in my family. I'm extremely healthy at this moment, and I eat most of the produce that I produce on this property, totally organic produce, totally safe here.
We were doing a little pre-interview to figure this out, and when Steven said he was 78 last time, his wife Jo said, remember, you just had a birthday.
Dang it.
So 79. He's made it all the way to 79, so way past his family. Let's start talking about, as Steven was about to go into safety, because oftentimes when you move down to Mexico, your friends, your family are like, are you sure? You know, we've heard really bad things. So let's hear about safety here.
Baja is divided into two parts, 2 states, I guess we could call it correctly. One is northern Baja and one is southern Baja. Southern Baja has a subtropical climate. It is not tropical. It is subtropical, so you can look that up and find out about it. The safety factor of southern Baja is we have no more than 2 shootings a year, as compared to Chicago having up to 56 of them per weekend. Birmingham, Alabama has 17 a weekend. That's a whole lot different than 2 a year. And so, do we feel safe? I do feel very safe. I have built a wall construction that I feel does protect us totally. We sleep well at night here, and I'm totally feel secure with where we live.
So that wall is beautiful. We're gonna give you a tour of everything, and we are in the Las Tunas area of Todos Santos. So Todos Santos is a beautiful old historic town, a magical city, Puebla Magica. Here in Las Tunas, it's kind of a little closer to the beach. It's like the old road down towards the beach. I can see the water right over there. You can probably see it over my shoulder. And in terms of safety, you'll see that there are a lot of walls. People have walls. They have, sometimes broken glass bottles on top. But the safety here is really mostly, I would say, about burglary. It's not like a personal safety, whereas it's more of a theft type of thing. So don't leave something in your car because your window will get broken and someone will take it. But it's not a worry like you're going to walk down the street and someone's going to pull a gun on you, because quite frankly, the guns are owned by the police and the cartels. And as long as you don't mess with the police or the cartels being like the drugs, you're not going to have to worry about that type of violent crime for the most part, because it's not part of kind of everyday Mexican society where foreigners choose to live. So there are other towns that might not be like that, but along the border, for instance,
Northern Baja is different.
Yeah, like Tijuana would be a good example. Wouldn't necessarily want to walk around late at night there, but we're here down near the tip of Baja California Sur state, and it really is safe. So your friends might be right that there are unsafe areas in Mexico, but those are not the same. Kind of like as Stephen said, it's like comparing Chicago to, I don't know, where's the safest place in the United States? Somewhere like Disney World. How about Disney World versus Chicago? This is Disney World. I love Disney World, by the way. But let's get back and start talking about that subtropical climate and what you can grow here.
Let's talk just for a little bit more about the location. All right. There are 2 rivers, if you can call them rivers. And in the north, we would call them streams, okay, or creeks. But there are 2 rivers in Baja. One is at Mulahay, which is about halfway up the peninsula. And one is here where I live, and it's the Todos Santos River. And in the historic past, that river has been an oasis. And you can kind of envision in your mind what an oasis is. Trees spring forth. It's green, lush, beautiful. It's not desolate. Where that water is, it produces beautiful vegetation. Todos Santos in the early 1900s, all the way up to 1948, was the sugar capital of all of Baja. Sugar cane grew in the oasis of that river everywhere. Every field was sugar cane. And there was great structures here. Todos has kind of a museum of it. One of the restaurants has the big gears where the sugar cane was pressed by the gear rolling forward and pressing the juice. And then it was dried, and once it was dried, it was made into these little cubicles. And then it was shipped out of kind of a secret bay that's here. This secret bay is called Old Port. And very few people ever get to Old Port, but the sailing ships came into Old Port, and the people here with the sugarcane, they took all of that product up to the Old Port and put on the sailing ships, and it was taken to San Francisco, LA, and and all of the other places that they could take the sugarcane to. So this was a gorgeous oasis, and it still is. It has a beautiful catch-all dam that's only 4 or 5 miles away, and that dam fills with water, and it's a beautiful place. It's just neat to live. It seldom ever gets out of the low 90s. It seldom ever goes below 55 degrees at night. I don't care what time of the year. So this is a fantastic place to live. You don't need heaters in your house. You might need an air conditioner for a few weeks of the summer, but this is fabulous year-round living.
I always worry every time Kat and I come over to Todos Santos because she loves to grow things, and things grow in Todos Santos. For the most part, the whole Baja Peninsula is mostly desert, except for these oases, and there's a couple of them throughout. But Todos Santos is about an hour from La Paz, and the area where it has the underground or the groundwater is just really amazing. It's just all palm trees, and it's a different world. And as Kat is an avid gardener, and we live in the desert, she definitely gets excited about Todos Santos. Todos Santos has gotten pretty expensive, especially those areas that have the water. There's some agriculture still, but a lot of people want to live in that area where they have the water like that. But so far this trip, Kat's only told me once that she wants to move over here. So I think we're doing pretty good staying in our beach house. But one other thing I want to go back to, before we go back to the house, I want to go back to talking about the family that lives here and sort of the future thoughts of that.
Looking at the fact that I am retired, I'm at that age where you start having disabilities, and you got to be thoughtful about that future of time. Most of us don't take or don't have long-term insurance, so we have to depend on Medicare. The cost of assisted living, which we are facing, most of us, if we don't die before, is above $3,000 a month up in the state that I came from. But here, with the property I bought, it had 3 homes, and one of the homes I have hired a Mexican family, a man and a woman, and they, for $400 a month, which is American dollars, they are my house cleaners. They cook our dinners. They help with the landscaping outside, and of course, translation of Spanish, which I need terribly bad. When you get quite old, you don't learn Spanish very fast, and immersion by having a Spanish person living next to you works perfectly. I became more and more fluent in it, and I'm pretty happy with the whole thing. But I'm not going broke having the assisted living here. They can help with medications. They help with anything else that I need, government interaction or anything else. And they make sure that everything we do is comfortable and right with the government. So we've been here 6 years and have never had a problem with law enforcement, with anything governmental. It's been very comfortable.
That is a great setup for the future. I have another video about an Ajijic assisted living in Mexico, and actually just down the street here, I just shot a video. If that one's ready, it'll be up there too, about dying in Mexico. And it's a group of nurses from the States who've gotten together and are opening kind of a facility here in Todos Santos for older people. So there's a number of things that are happening here in Mexico that are great for expats as they're growing older, and it's all very affordable compared to how crazy expensive it is in the US. But let's go ahead and let's get our feet dirty and connect with that soil and get a tour of this yard.
This is a bucket list item down here. Can you see
koi
them?
pond.
No, those are not kois there. Those black fish that you see there, that's tilapia.
Oh, wow.
And they're within 2 weeks of harvest. You won't be able to see them long. They spook.
Yep. And they just did.
Okay. If you stay back, they'll be back up again. I bought 120 of them and they were fries. Okay. And they have grown in the 5 months with the warmth here. And they're over a pound now. They're getting 1.5 pounds. I'm going to start the harvest of them in the next 2 weeks. I've always wanted to do that, mainly because I didn't like the amount of mercury that's in the ocean fish. And now that Fukushima's radiation is coming across the Pacific, the cesium-134, which attacks the thyroids on people, it's just something I don't want my family to have. These have been raised organically.
I love this. This is just the most beautiful. Like I thought it was a koi pond, and you can see the fish, but it's so much better than koi.
See these?
Yep. Let me see if I can
and
zoom
this
in
plant that is floating in the middle of it, it also feeds the tilapia, but this plant is so important. This is found all through Southeast Asia tropics, and this is water spinach. It grows 1.5 foot a day. The fish keep it ate back most of the time, and it tastes good in every salad. You can eat it raw or cooked. It's one of the nicest tasting vegetables in the country, and I'll give you a taste of it right now if you want.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do this.
Okay, come on over. These are 2 separate ponds. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is water spinach.
Kat, you want to come have water spinach with me?
Pledge of good faith. Okay. This is better tasting than anything I can grab up north in the way of a green. So I'm going to take it right there, and you're going to have a piece, and she's going to have a piece.
I'll take this one. Okay, here's your big surprise. We just took a tour of this yard, and it is a big tour. So I am splitting this out into a separate video about gardening in Baja California, sir. Gardening for food, because this yard is so incredibly edible. So if you want to watch the part 2 of this video, when it's ready, it's going to be up here. It might take a week or so. Otherwise, I've got some great videos down here that are going to be other expats that have moved to Mexico, because if they can do it, you can too. Hasta luego.